Counter-Strike is an online tactical shooter I'm sure everyone has heard of. Put 10 people in a match, 5 on one team, 5 on another, a winning side and a losing side, individual ranks that go up and down depending on wins and losses, and sprinkle some cosmetic skins on top to boast about how much more money you've spent on the game than your opponent, plus your typical FPS rage gamer.
You gotta be fucking kidding me! God! Fucking goddamn mantle! I'm gonna lose my goddamn fucking mind! To the fucking mantle!
It's fair to say Counter-Strike can be a frustrating game. Here are 3 arguments surrounding Counter-Strike that led to serious injuries and murder. Number 3. Alexander. To this day, people across the world still use internet cafes to play video games, and back in 2009 when this event happened, they were even more popular. Alexander, who was a teenager at the time, went down to his local internet cafe for some boozed up 1v1 Counter-Strike games, when he met an older team named Alexei. The two paired up and had several 1v1 matches against each other, with Alexei winning every match. During the course of the games, Alexander got more and more frustrated with each loss, to the point where he tried to attack Alexei several times, but luckily each fight was broken up by the staff and other gamers in the cafe. Despite his anger, the pair carried on drinking and playing games, until Alexander finally got fed up with losing and left the cafe. But that's not where it ends. Alexander, being a teen, fueled up on booze, and his ego being ripped to shreds all night, he and one of his friends decided to wait outside of the cafe for Alexei to leave. At 3 AM, Alexei left the internet cafe where Alexander and his friend were waiting for him. Alexander brutally attacked Alexei, not just punching and kicking, but jumping up and down on his chest and his head. Alexei unfortunately passed away at the scene. Alexander and his friend tried to cover up what they had done by moving his body and burying him, however they left half of his body exposed. Passers-by discovered Alexei the next morning. In the court, Alexander claimed that his friend had no involvement in the attack and the disposal of the body, and claimed his friend just stood around and watched. Alexander was sentenced to only 4 years in a juvenile prison for this brutal attack. I feel like this incident could have been prevented if both of them were kicked out of the cafe when they first started fighting, instead of letting them continue drinking and becoming more volatile. Number 2. Julian Burrows. If you've ever played any kind of FPS game, there would have been a time when you and another player, or even the whole lobby, would have put down their weapons and used knives or even their fists to beat each other down, until some idiot doesn't understand the unwritten rule of never bring a gun to a knife fight and ruins the whole moment. Now, whilst this is a fun thing in game, this is not something you ever want to happen in real life. That's why bad things happen in games and movies, because no one actually gets hurt. However, Julian Burrows didn't get the memo. After being knifed in a game of Counter-Strike, Julian Burrows decided to do some law-abiding citizen shit. He spent 6 months planning to murder the person who knifed him in game. Now, games can be frustrating, and sometimes people say things out of anger, but 10 minutes later you've calmed down and you're back playing. To still be that angry after 6 months and to follow through with it is unbelievable. After 6 months of his character being killed in game, Julian finally tracked down the man and knocked on his door. When the man answered the door, Julian lunged at him with a knife and stabbed him in the chest, missing his heart by 1 inch. Whilst in court, the judge said, "You are a menace to society. I am frankly terrified of the disproportionate reaction you could have if someone looked at you the wrong way walking down the street." Julian was sentenced to 2 years in prison. For number 1, we're going back to the internet cafes. Like Russia, internet cafes are also popular in the Philippines. When it comes to any kind of activity with a winning side and a losing side, someone, somewhere will be making a bet no matter how big or small. On the 21st of March 2012, 2 teams got together to play against each other in an internet cafe. Both teams placed a bet of $7.15. This was a usual thing that the teams would do, gather in a cafe, play and bet, just some friendly competition fun. However, on this day, the opposing team did not pay their bet when they lost. An argument broke out in the cafe, but things seemed to simmer down. However, a member of the winning team was still angry and decided to follow Eric Cristobal back to his home when he left the cafe and stabbed him to death. It was also stated that Eric on that day did not start the argument or even bet, but just got caught up in the dispute. The attacker was arrested, but I couldn't find out if he actually got sentenced. It was hard to find much about this case. After reading about this case, I found it so weird that some people can get so angry over so little money and over such a trivial thing as a video game that an innocent man has to die. This was a pretty short video, but if you liked it, I have other videos on my channel that are very similar, and I'll have more videos coming very soon. I'm a very small channel, I'm just currently sitting around 200 subscribers, so if you do enjoy this video or any of the others, please consider subscribing as it means a lot.